My mom's friend waited until midnight on vacation, then asked me, "What's your favorite position?" I was 18. He was 37. And everyone said he was harmless. That night, I learned what monsters sound like when they smile. The first thing he said was, "Would you ever let someone just touch you like that?" We were alone on the balcony, the waves clapping against the rocks like they were mocking me for being stupid enough to be here. I was 18. Clark was 37. My mom's old friend from college. She always said he was harmless. Unlucky in love, she'd call him. Like that was a warning label. He had a beer in his hand, his other arm hanging over the back of his chair like he owned the place. Like he was the one who booked this whole beach trip, not my mom and her cousin. I still had sunscreen on my legs. Still had salt in my hair from the swim earlier. My skin itched and suddenly so did the air. I blinked at him, thought maybe I misheard. But he just smiled. That smile you see in movies where the guy is about to sell you a lie so big you forget what truth felt like. "I mean, just kidding," he said like that fixed everything. "You know I see you like family." Then he asked what my drive was like. Like we were comparing engines. Like it was normal. Like it wasn't almost midnight on the first night of vacation. And I hadn't just caught him watching me for way too long at dinner. I laughed awkwardly. That's what you do, right? When something is so weird and sudden that your brain doesn't have the right files to access. You pretend you didn't feel it. That heat crawling up your neck. That sinking cold behind your ribs. "Clark, that's weird," I said. But I didn't leave. I didn't even stand up. I stayed in that damn chair like I was nailed there. Because he made it feel like leaving would be rude. He did that thing adults do when they pretend they're joking so that if you react, you're the weird one. He kept sipping his beer and said, "Come on, you've never thought about it?" I didn't answer. I just stared out at the dark ocean, hoping someone, anyone, would come back outside. But it was just us. Just Clark, with his sunburnt cheeks and the way his eyes kept dipping below my face. "I'm serious though," he said after a minute. "You're smart. You know what guys want. What's your favorite position?" I choked. Thought maybe he meant yoga. Then I saw his smirk. "I'm just messing with you," he said. "You've got that look like you're going to run back inside and tell your mom." "I will," I said, too fast, too soft. "No you won't," he replied. "You're not that kind of girl. You know how to handle a joke." Then he leaned in closer and added, "Unless you want me to stop." "Do you want me to stop?" That's when my mom and cousin walked out, laughing about some TikTok. Clark leaned back like nothing had happened. Just a beer in his hand. Just a guy enjoying the breeze. That night, I locked the bedroom door for the first time in 10 years. Not that it mattered. The door didn't even close right. You could still hear everything through the paper-thin walls. And what I heard for the next 5 nights was Clark finding reasons to sit next to me, commenting on how grown I looked now, joking about how I owed him a back rub after he paid for our dinner one night. Always smiling, always casual, like he was testing something. One night, he slapped my thigh under the dinner table because I made a joke at his expense. He said, "Sassy girls need to be tamed." My mom laughed, said I should be flattered. Flattered. On the 5th night, I told him to stop. Really stop. I said if he ever tried anything, I'd leave. Tell my mom. Burn it all down. He just stared at me with that same expressionless face, then said, "It was a test." I asked what he meant. "I just wanted to see if you'd say yes. That's all." He smiled like a child caught stealing cookies. "You're like the daughter I never had. I would never do anything to hurt you." But then I asked the question I hadn't dared until then. What if I didn't say no, Clark? What if I went along with it? He didn't answer at first, just stared. Then he said, "I would have stopped, obviously." I asked again, this time slower. "What if I kissed you first?" He looked down. Then he said, "It wouldn't have meant anything." That night I didn't sleep. Just lay in bed thinking about the word obviously. Thinking about all the ways he tried to make me believe it had never happened. That I imagined it. That I failed his little test. But the truth is, Clark wasn't testing me. He was testing the limits of how much a girl can be told it's her fault before she believes it. Date 1. The morning after he called it a test, he made me coffee. Black, bitter, and in the mug that said, "Best uncle ever." I didn't touch it. He acted like nothing had happened. Like we were in a sitcom. Like the tension from the night before was just a commercial break. My mom was still in bed, and my cousin had gone on a jog, which meant it was just me and Clark in the rental's kitchen. "Sleep okay?" he asked, flipping pancakes like a Disney dad. I stared at him. "Did you mean what you said last night?" I asked. He smiled, not surprised, like he'd been waiting for that question. "I meant the part where I said I'd never hurt you," he said. "You believe that, right?" I didn't answer. Because what do you say to a man who tried to get into your head with a slow grin and jokes, then called it a morality quiz when you didn't fall for it? He watched me as I poured cereal, still pretending we were in a sitcom. Still holding that damn spatula like it was a microphone and the joke was just about to land. But every time we were alone that day, he tested me again. During the hike, he accidentally brushed my lower back when helping me climb. At lunch, he leaned too close and whispered that I looked like one of those girls on the posters in dorm rooms. When I glared at him, he just said, "Kidding, kidding. You're too uptight." That night, my cousin got food poisoning. My mom stayed in with her and I ended up outside again on the deck, alone. Of course, Clark found me. He sat beside me without asking. The moon was too bright. I could see the lines in his face. He looked like a painting someone smeared at the edges. "You know," he said, sipping his drink, "when I was younger, I would have gone for someone like you." I stood up. He grabbed my wrist, not hard, just enough. "You're still thinking about last night," he said. "No," I replied. "I'm thinking about tomorrow. When I leave." That was the first time he dropped the mask. "You really gonna ruin the trip over a joke?" he asked. His voice was lower. Not angry, just disappointed, like I'd broken some invisible rule. "You think they'd believe you?" he added. "You think your mom wants to hear that her old friend made things weird?" That was when I realized something dangerous. He believed this. He believed I was the one making it complicated, that I was the unstable element. I didn't sleep in the house that night. Took a blanket and my phone and curled up in the back seat of our rented SUV. Locked the doors. Didn't tell anyone. In the morning, Clark acted hurt. "You didn't come in last night. We thought something happened." "We?" "Not I." I stared him down at breakfast. My mom noticed. Asked if we'd had an argument. I almost told her. Almost. But then Clark said, "I think she's just tired of being the only adult here, right?" And my mom laughed. Laughed like he wasn't carving into my reality with a butter knife. That day, I started recording him. Nothing obvious. Just my phone in voice memo mode. Hidden under my towel in my hoodie pocket, wherever I could stash it. I needed proof. I didn't know what for yet. Just that I was starting to forget what normal sounded like. That night, he came to my door. Said he wanted to clear the air. Said he felt bad. Said he hadn't meant to make me uncomfortable. Then, like it was nothing. But I do think about it. Sometimes. You and me. Not because I would ever do anything, just thought experiments, you know? I didn't say a word. I just let the silence do the talking. Eventually, he left. The next day, he didn't speak to me. Didn't make jokes. Didn't even look my way. Felt good at first. Then, like a cold front, the paranoia settled in. Because silence isn't safety. Silence is planning. Clark was done testing me. He was starting to plan. And I still had 3 days left. Update 2. I think he was trying to break me with kindness. That's what predators do when brute force fails. They pivot to sympathy. They wrap it in guilt and favors. By the 3rd day of his silent treatment, Clark started playing savior. He cleaned the kitchen without being asked. Told my mom to take a break while he grilled dinner. Said things like, "The girls should relax," and "I'll handle the heavy lifting," all while pretending I didn't exist. It was worse than the touching. Worse than the whispers. He was rewriting the script before it finished. Making me the unstable one. The moody teen. The girl who couldn't take a joke and now sulked around with a chip on her shoulder. I watched it happen in real time. My mom started giving me looks, little confused frowns. Like she didn't understand why I wasn't laughing along anymore. Like she couldn't reconcile her sweet old friend Clark with the girl who used to trust her, and now barely made eye contact. He was winning, and I was tired. That's what I hate most about this kind of thing. Not the fear, but the fatigue. The way it wears you down just enough to start doubting yourself. Was I overreacting? Was I too sensitive? Was it really that bad? Then I checked my phone. I'd left it in the bathroom while I showered. Just 15 minutes. When I picked it up, my lock screen notifications were gone. My voice memo app had been opened and closed. I checked the saved files. Gone. All of them. I didn't even confront him. I knew what he'd say, that I was being paranoid, that I probably accidentally deleted them. Maybe he'd even pretend to be worried for me. Ask if I was okay, if I needed help. So I pivoted too. I played polite. I laughed when he said weird stuff at dinner again. I let him believe he was back in control. That night, he offered to drive me to the pharmacy. Said I'd mentioned needing tampons earlier. I hadn't, but I said yes, because I had a plan. The car ride was silent, heavy. I watched the streetlights flicker across his face. He was humming to himself off-key, like this was a date. Halfway there, he turned down a side road. "Shortcut," he said. There was nothing around us. Just woods and a long stretch of gravel road leading nowhere. I didn't panic. I said, "Clark, do you think I'm pretty?" He blinked, caught off guard. Then he laughed. "Is that a trap?" he asked. "Would you still think I was pretty if I told my mom everything you said to me?" He went quiet. The road stretched on like a dare. "I told you," he said slowly. "It was a test." I turned to face him. "Right, but if I failed that test? If I said yes to everything you asked for, what would you have done?" He didn't answer. Didn't even pretend this time. He just looked at the road and whispered, "I don't know." And that's when I smiled, because I finally saw the truth behind his eyes. Clark didn't see me as a girl, or a stepdaughter, or a niece. He saw me as a mirror, something to test his reflection against. He pulled into the pharmacy lot like nothing happened. Told me he'd wait in the car. I went inside, bought gum, and called my cousin from the checkout line. I said I felt sick. Asked her to come pick me up. When she arrived 10 minutes later, Clark was still in the car, eyes closed, pretending to nap. I slid into her back seat, and she didn't ask questions. Just drove. Later that night, he knocked on my door. I didn't answer. He whispered through the wood, "I'm sorry for everything." Then, quieter, "But if you change your mind, you know where I'll be." That was the last night. We drove home the next morning. Clark didn't sit near me, didn't speak. And my mom? She said the trip was a success. Said Clark was such a good guy, always helping. Said I seemed off lately. When we got home, Clark hugged her. Hugged my cousin. Then he looked at me. Waited. I stared him down, stone-faced. And he laughed. Like he already knew I'd never tell. But he was wrong. Because telling isn't about justice. It's about survival. And I had one more play left. Update 3. The day after we got back from the beach, I waited until my mom left for work. Then I walked to Clark's house. He lived alone, of course he did. His place was the kind that pretends to be cozy but reeks of someone who stopped growing up halfway through his 20s. Too many video game consoles. Too many pillows with snarky sayings. A bookshelf full of unread self-help. I knocked once. Calm. He opened the door shirtless, blinking like I'd interrupted a dream. "I'm not here for that," I said before he could speak. His face twitched. "Just for a second." "I figured," he replied. "You're not that kind of girl." I stepped past him into the living room. I shouldn't have been able to do that. But the thing about men like Clark, they never expect you to walk in without fear. He followed me, half expecting seduction, half bracing for a slap. He got neither. I sat down on the couch and placed my phone on the coffee table. Screen up, red recording light blinking like an open wound. He froze. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Insurance," I said. "Sit." He did. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I just started talking. I recited every word he'd said to me. Every joke. Every question about my body, my drive, my boundaries. Every touch, every look, every pivot. I spoke like I was reading a list, because that's what it was. A list of evidence. He didn't interrupt. He didn't deny it. He just sat there, skin going grayer with every minute. When I finished, I said, "You deleted the recordings. That's fine. I've got a better one now." He didn't speak. I stood up, walked to the door, paused, then turned back and said the quietest thing I've ever spoken. "If you ever talk to me again, if you ever come near my house, if you so much as breathe in my direction, I'll play this audio for my mom, for your boss, for your church, for every woman you've ever tried this on." Still he said nothing, so I smiled. "I hope you do something stupid. I'm bored." Then I left. And the silence that followed? It was different. It wasn't victory. It was extinction. Clark didn't show up again. Not at birthdays. Not at dinners. Not at Christmas. My mom asked once why I was cold to him. I told her he made me uncomfortable. She got quiet. Never asked again. 3 months later, he moved to a different city. My cousin said he was starting fresh. I said nothing. Because people like Clark don't get punished. They just get revealed. They rot in quiet corners. They don't go down in flames. They go down in whispers. And me? I started therapy. Told the story out loud to someone paid to hold it without flinching. And I kept that recording. It lives in 3 different cloud drives. It's labeled something boring like taxes_2023.pdf just in case. Sometimes I play the first few seconds just to remind myself of the power of silence. Not the kind he used. The kind I forged. Not screaming. Not accusing. Just clarity. Clean. Cold. Inevitable. Because the best revenge isn't telling. It's becoming untouchable. And making sure they know it. Update 4. The day after we got back from the beach, I did something Clark didn't expect. I waited until my mom left for work. I waited until the house was silent. Then I walked 3 miles to his place. It wasn't the kind of walk you do when you're angry or scared. It was surgical. Measured. I stopped for a drink halfway. I looked both ways at every intersection. I wasn't rushing. Because this wasn't rage. It was something colder. He lived in one of those sad bachelor homes with fake leather couches and too many quirky kitchen magnets. It was trying to be cozy, but the curtains didn't match the walls and there was a smell beneath the Febreze, like laundry never quite dried. He opened the door shirtless, blinking like I'd caught him mid-dream. Or mid-delusion. He looked at me like I was dessert. A fantasy made real. He actually smiled. "You're early," he said, like we'd scheduled something. Like this was a date. I stared at him. No expression. "I'm not here for that," I said. His smile twitched. I stepped inside without asking. That part mattered. Because predators like Clark? They only understand power in the form of intrusion. I walked into his living room like I'd been there 100 times. Like I owned it. Sat on his couch, crossed my legs, and placed my phone on the coffee table, screen up, red dot flashing. His face drained. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Insurance," I said. "Sit." He hovered in the doorway like he hadn't decided whether to slam it or run. But I was already speaking. I started calmly. "I remember what you said the first night. You said I had a body that provoked curiosity. You said that some guys can't help themselves. You said, and I quote, I'd spank you just for walking past me in shorts like that." He didn't interrupt. I didn't stop. I repeated his words from the beach. From the kitchen. From the car ride. From the night he whispered through my door. Everything he ever said to me when no one else was around. I didn't flinch. I didn't dramatize. I let his own voice hang in the air like the stench of his cologne. By the third quote, he sat down. That's when I saw it. Not fear. Not guilt. Shame. The kind that doesn't beg forgiveness, it just folds inward, rotting from the inside. I kept going. "You deleted my recordings. It's fine. This one's better." I tapped the phone. "You're not the first guy to try this with someone younger. Are you?" He looked down. Didn't answer. I leaned forward. "But I think I might be the last." He opened his mouth to speak. Probably to offer another non-apology, or say I misunderstood, or blame it on the alcohol or a bad week. But I raised a finger, and for once he shut up. "You know what the worst part was?" I asked. "Not the touching. Not the questions. It was when you made me wonder if it was my fault for not leaving that first night." He closed his eyes. "Now I know it wasn't." I stood. "You don't get to touch this version of me." I picked up the phone and walked to the door. Paused. "I hope you do something stupid. Really. I'm bored." Then I left. And the silence that followed? That was his punishment. No confrontation. No screaming match. Just absence. Just a girl who didn't fall apart the way he expected. Just a story he doesn't get to be the narrator of. After that day, Clark disappeared from our lives like he was never there. My mom didn't ask why. I think on some level she knew. Or maybe she just didn't want to know. That's the thing about people like her, they can live with the ambiguity if it keeps the peace. But not me. A week later, I found a burner email in my inbox. No subject line. No name. Just, "I'm sorry. I didn't know how to stop. I think about it every day now. I'm not okay. I think you broke something in me." I smiled. Didn't respond. I just filed it into a private folder I keep, along with the final recording. Along with the screenshots. Along with a notarized affidavit I had written just in case I ever need to burn his name in public. But that's not the play I'm running. Not yet. Because Clark isn't just afraid of exposure. He's afraid of silence. He's afraid of being erased. So I erased him. I deleted every photo of him from my phone. Blocked him everywhere. Removed him from every memory like a stain that finally came loose. Now when his name comes up in family conversation, I just tilt my head and say, "Who?" At first, my mom thought I was being petty. Now she stopped asking. And the best part? I didn't tell anyone. Not the full story. Not yet. Because I don't need a courtroom or a public post or a confrontation in front of a tearful crowd. I just need to exist. Unafraid. Unbothered. Untouched. And if he ever thinks about finding me again? If he ever wonders what would happen if he pushed one more time? Then maybe, just maybe, I'll remind him that silence isn't the absence of war. It's the sound of the knife being sharpened.